Hello and welcome to our Life Action premiere. During our time together, we want to share with you some amazing God stories, stories of changed lives. We also want to share with you some ways you can invest right now in the ministry of Life Action. Investments we really believe will have a significant impact for years to come. Well, as I stand in this beautiful conservatory, I'm amazed at how life blossoms all around us when the environment is right. When the climate, the soil, the moisture, when all of it's perfect, you see plants flourish, full of vibrant life, just like we see here. In a similar way, Life Action is creating environments for life to flourish as well. Through our church event teams, our family camps, retreats, so many other resources, God is bringing life into believers' hearts. And true change is happening. As we head into this next year of ministry, I am so excited to show you some of the ways your investment will create environments of life in 2021.
We all know that 2020 has not been without its challenges. Yet in spite of all that's happened, God has allowed Life Action to proclaim truth to those who need it the most. And this next year, we want to go further and farther than ever before. And so we have some really exciting announcements for you guys. Let's begin with something that we know you're going to love.
This past year, we launched Basecamp Adventures Album 3, Righting Wrongs. We've seen thousands of streams, and our albums have been listened to in 12 different countries. This has enabled families anywhere in the world to play engaging audio dramas for their kids that ultimately share the gospel and biblical truth in easy-to-understand ways. But we don't want to stop there. That's why I'm excited to announce that we're releasing 2 new albums by next summer, along with at least 5 more albums in development. Now, to tell you more about some exciting advances in Life Action studies, here's Allie.
In February and November of 2020, 2 new studies were released here at Life Action. The first was a book written by John and Donna Avant called Yes Changes Everything. Paired with a video series, this resource has only just begun its journey of helping individuals and churches say yes to God. In October, John Avant dove deep into the truths found in 1 Thessalonians in our latest study entitled Revive and Restart. This has been a promising beginning, but we want to take things much further. That's why this year, we need the help of donors like you to launch 2 more series to touch on topics that believers need now more than ever. This past year has caused some new challenges that were felt perhaps most by the Life Action Camp. Here's Ryan.
Charles Dickens says it best when he wrote, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." In many ways, this quote summarizes much of what we've felt at Life Action Camp this past season. The COVID-19 crisis, it's caused the camp to lose revenue in excess of $500,000. However, in spite of the significant setbacks, we still ministered to numerous guests in a safe, life-giving environment. In fact, the 2019-2020 season allowed us to launch our newest events, Journey, a mother-daughter retreat, and Together, a retreat for married couples. These events, they've received positive reviews and are now featured as part of our regular programming. In 2021, we're excited to ensure the best possible experience for our guests.
Over the years, our road teams have ministered in 7,000 churches, and we've seen over 200,000 handwritten testimonies from people that were personally impacted. And this year, we hope to see the beginning of a new era with the creation of regionally focused conferences. Imagine with me an entire community of churches over the course of a year experiencing conferences that culminates in a citywide gathering together of God's people. With the help of donors like you, we hope to accomplish all that God has called us to do. Will you join us?
Well, as you can see, there are some amazing things on the horizon, things that we need God's provision and power to accomplish. The reason we're willing to press on, even when there are so many reasons to step back and wait, is because of the transformation we see when people connect with God through our camps, our resources, church events, and our content. We know God is using this message and the ministry to change lives. And that's why we can't pull back, we can't wait, we can't quit. Our longest serving revivalist one that many of you have met over the years and whose heart and message has shaped Life Action in so many ways, is Steve Canfield. I wanted Steve to encourage all of us with a story that makes this whole crazy venture worthwhile.
On the morning of April 19th, 1995, Timothy McVeigh took a rented Ryder truck, drove it to the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. Inside that truck was a bomb. He was about to commit mass murder. He locked the door, walked away, lit the fuse, and at 9:02, the bomb exploded. It leveled about a third of the building, floors pancaked, 300 buildings in the surrounding area were destroyed or torched, cars were aflame, but the physical toll was not nearly as devastating as the human toll. 168 people lost their lives that day. 19 of them were children. One of those was a father of a 14-year-old boy who over 20 years later sat through a Life Action Summit and wrote this testimony. I didn't realize until this week I've been mad at God for over 20 years. Since April 19th, 1995, I've been mad and not trusted him. That was the day my father was killed in the Oklahoma City bombing. I was 14, I lost the man who was my idol and a godly presence in my life. I've always been happy on the outside, but empty on the inside, trying to be like the world to be happy. The sermon on forgiveness changed my heart. I realized there was no person I was harboring a grudge against. It was God himself. I've let that go, and I'm working on becoming closer to him. Thank you, Life Action. God bless, and please continue to pray for me. You see, the fact is that bombing didn't just affect the 168 people who lost their lives. It's affecting everyone that has ever been touched by their lives, generations to come. This young man grew up in a home where, because his father was gone, now there was an absence of this influence and his presence in the home. I'm sure you can relate. All of us have gone through situations and times in our life where something tragic has happened. What do you do with the unexplainable? What do you do with the things where there's no answers to all the questions? The whys that have no answers. Sometimes life just leaves you in the dark. And the adage, "this too shall pass," is insufficient consolation. But you see, he'd held on to these problems for over 20 years, holding this bitterness against God. Time does not heal all wounds. You see, all bitterness is ultimately directed towards God. If you're bitter, you don't have a person problem, you have a God problem. For this young man, that problem turned into solutions, because some time ago, a Life Action team came to his church. In our meetings, we try to help people understand that they can deal with their past so they can grow and enjoy their future. Your past does not excuse your behavior, but it can explain your behavior. Through the teachings on bitterness and forgiveness and the sovereignty of God, this young man realized he had to let go of his past, and he did. This is the story of change. You may think it's an exception because we don't hear a lot of stories like this on the evening news, but it's actually just one of thousands of testimonies we've received in recent days. When God begins to work in a person's life, the first place it shows up is behind the doors of the home. 8 days ago, I walked in here tired and ready to give up on being a wife and mother. I was angry and annoyed at my family at times for no real reason. God found me proud, selfish, and negative, and drinking alcohol almost every day, sometimes in excess. I built up bitterness toward people that I didn't even know. Thank you for speaking to my heart what God was trying to say to me. Open doors with my family I thought would otherwise never be open are a weight being lifted off my shoulders. My heart is opening back up to God. I asked God in my life today, and it's already been so amazing. In these days, we need to remember there is no panic in heaven, just plans. God loves you, and he is redeeming us to himself. I'm so glad that I get to be part of Life Action. I get to serve on the front lines where I see these heart changes take place. Thank you for making that possible. It's all God, but he uses individuals just like you to help to advance his kingdom work.
I can't think of anything more worthwhile than helping to create environments of life and seeing lives transformed. Can you? This is why I want to ask you to join us, to be a part of all this, to contribute here at year end. What better time will there be to make an eternal investment, an investment into the renewal of our entire culture? Our team is praying for $395,000 by December 31st, which will empower our work and help us multiply our ministry in 2021. You can be a part of this, a part of changing lives and seeking God for revival here and around the world. Would you take a moment right now and prayerfully consider this opportunity to invest in this mission? I hope you will.